All right, Heat Nation, I'm ready to talk about it. So, the Miami Heat lost Game 7 last night to the Boston Celtics. Celtics advanced to the finals. Heat season ends right there. And I can't lie, it was a painful loss. However, as a fan of the game, as long as my team fights to the end, I can live with the results. It may not be the results I wanted, but I can live with the results. And I did. Miami fought to the end, and they had a chance to win that game. It came down to a Jimmy Butler 3. If Jimmy Butler makes that 3, Miami's in the finals right now. Honestly, I fully believe it with all my heart and soul. If Jimmy Butler hits that 3, Miami's in the finals right now. But he didn't, and so the Celtics advance. But like I said in the live stream, the number one focus in the media tomorrow when it comes to talking about this game was going to be that Jimmy Butler 3. Did Jimmy Butler make the right decision? Being down 2 and taking the 3 in transition, did he make the right decision? Now, for me personally, I haven't watched any of them. I don't plan to watch any of them. I'm not watching any media-related coverage when it comes to this. I don't want to. I'm not going to. I'm going to speak on it myself and move on. Of course, yesterday I did post that little video about every Heat fan's reaction to Game 7, which is just like an initial raw reaction that I'm sure most Heat fans were feeling right after they saw Jimmy take that 3. But as you sit back and honestly relax, cool off, get your thoughts together, and you understand the situation, you will see that Jimmy Butler's 3, it wasn't a bad decision. I know a lot of people initially will say that, but it wasn't a bad decision. For me personally, I believe Jimmy made the right decision. If he makes that 3, win the finals. With the momentum on everywhere. All the momentum was with us at that time. If he makes that 3, we're in the finals. He just didn't make the 3. And yes, looking back on it, you're down 2, under 20 seconds. You're coming down the court. You have Al Horford in front of you. It's not going to be an easy shot, but Al Horford, you've been able to beat him plenty of times, especially in transition. Jimmy Butler's fantastic in transition. If he puts his head down and drives to the basket, he'll get contact and maybe go to the line if he doesn't hit it. Or if he hits it, he gets the basket and the end one and gets a chance to take the lead at the free throw line. Who knows what happens? But instead, Jimmy chose to take that 3 in transition because he was open. And it was a good look. It was a really good look for the situation. He just didn't hit that 3. Now, people would ask, why, oh why would Jimmy take that 3 when he can just drive and get to the basket? Well, you gotta understand the situation. With under 3 minutes left to go, the Boston Celtics were up by around 13 points. Miami looked dead in the water. They looked exhausted. They didn't have anything left. So what they would do in those final 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes was miraculous. I don't even know where that came from. I don't know if that was Miami's final punch coming out of nowhere to pull off one epic comeback, or if it was Boston choking, or if it was a mixture of both. But all of a sudden, within those final 2.5 minutes, Miami goes on an 11-0 run. We're down 13 and Miami goes on an 11-0 run to make this a 2-point game. Prior to that run, Miami looked dead. Look at the fourth quarter. Miami looked dead. This is a Jimmy Butler that played 46 minutes in Game 6 to force this Game 7 and played every single second of Game 7. All 48 minutes he played it. The team was dead in the water with under 3 minutes left to go. The situation looked grim. They looked exhausted. They looked done physically and mentally. They looked like they didn't have anything left. Then they went on that run. In my opinion, Jimmy Butler saw that opportunity and understood that he could drive to the basket. Jimmy has a high basketball IQ. He knows he could drive to the basket. He knows. But like he said when he was asked about it, he was going for the win. He was going for the win. And I understand on the road, you go for the win, and at home, you go for the tie. But in a situation like this, with the way the Miami Heat were looking prior to that run, they looked done. I even said on the live stream, they looked done. We were watching Miami die. They looked cooked. They looked done. They didn't seem like they had anything left. And I'm not even sure Jimmy Butler had anything left, because I was mentioning it too. I'm like, Jimmy Butler looks exhausted. I'm not seeing him really do much in this situation in terms of trying to get to the basket and get something going for himself. He looked like he didn't have any energy left. He was exhausted. So I think in that situation, because he saw he was exhausted, because he saw how his team was exhausted, because he saw there was an opportunity to potentially take the lead and win the game, Jimmy did what he had to do. Jimmy taking that 3 tells me that Jimmy did not want to go into overtime. if you would have driven to the basket, and let's say there's no foul, right? Or maybe he gets fouled, he doesn't make the basket, he goes to the line. Either way, if the situation ends in a tie and we got to go into overtime, Miami's cooked. I will sit up and say this right now as a Heat fan. Miami's cooked if we go into overtime. We were too tired. I 100% believe we were cooked at that time. That final run, I don't know where that came from. That was miraculous. But prior to that run, if you take a look at how they played in the fourth quarter, Miami looked done. They kept going back and forth. They kept throwing punches, and Boston continued to respond. Every time they get the lead down close, all of a sudden Boston will make it higher. They get it down close, Boston makes it higher. At some point, something had to give. And once it got to under 5 minutes, Miami just looked done. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, this is the end of the Heat. It really looks like it's the end of the Heat. They don't have anything left. So I think at that moment, Jimmy, understanding he was exhausted, understanding his team was exhausted, he took that three so that they don't go into overtime. Because if they go into overtime, they're not hanging with these boys for 5 more minutes. They had nothing left in the tank. So he went for the win because he didn't want to go to overtime. And it was a good look. And honestly, Jimmy Butler, if he's taking that three to win the game, I will live with it. I legitimately will live with it. I know that's not Jimmy's shot. We all know he's not a three-point shooter. But Jimmy Butler is the best player on the team. He's been the best player throughout these playoffs for this team. Honestly, he's been one of the best, if not the best player in the postseason in terms of performance. This guy has been doing everything for the Miami Heat. We're not in this situation without Jimmy Butler. We don't even have a shot to get to the finals without Jimmy Butler. He did everything for the team. He was our guy. He was carrying this squad. So if Jimmy Butler chooses to take the three to try and win the game, to save us from going into overtime and getting cooked like that, I can live with the result. Because at the end of the day, if Jimmy makes that three, that's an all-time great shot. That's a legacy-defining moment, and Miami's in the finals. So, but, he didn't make it. So at the end of the day, Boston gets the finals. You take whatever you take. That's just sports, man. You take shots, you take chances, you take risks, and you live with the result. I am completely fine with Jimmy Butler taking that three. I think that was the right decision. I am not going to hold him accountable. I stand with Jimmy taking that. Your best player in that moment, taking a shot to win the game. I will live with the result. Simple as that. I don't think it was a dumb move. Initially, when I was doing the live stream, I initially thought that it was crazy for him to do so. But when I sat back and thought about it, it was the right decision because they looked gassed. If I'm really thinking about it right now, if they go into overtime, I don't think they win that game. They didn't have anything left. I really don't know where that 11-0 run came at the end of the game. It seemed like it was a mixture of them fighting back their last hurrah as well as the Boston Celtics choking. It was a mixture of that. So I really don't know where that came from. That legit hit everybody out of nowhere. So Jimmy went for the win because he knew his team couldn't go to overtime. They wouldn't last. He was tired. He didn't have 5 more minutes left in him. He wanted to get this done now. Either he hits the shot and they advance to the finals or we go home. And at the end of the day, he missed it, so we went home. You live with it. You live with it. Your best player in that moment, taking a shot, a really good look, open look. He takes a shot to win the game. You live with the results. That's just how it is. Anyway, that's really all I got to say. There's nothing else really to talk about here. That game's over. We don't have to recap. I already spoke about what I needed to speak on the live stream, but I just wanted to address this whole Jimmy Butler 3-point shot thing. I believe he made the right decision. With that being said, that is all I've got, and I'm out of here, man. Peace.